The autopsy was supposed to be the turning point in this investigation, the moment where speculation gave way to cold, hard facts. Instead, it left the public more confused than ever. Celeste's death, already steeped in mystery, took a chilling turn when the medical examiner officially listed her cause of death as deferred. That single word didn't just delay answers, it created a cloud of suspicion. Why couldn't they determine how she died? And more importantly, what does deferred really mean in a case that already feels like it's being dragged through secrecy? As details slowly emerged, they didn't provide clarity. They clashed with each other. Rumors about Celeste being pregnant surfaced online, but the autopsy reported no sign of pregnancy at all. Surveillance footage raised more questions than answers, showing her last known movements in ways that didn't match the official timeline. And then there's David. Instead of laying low or addressing the situation, he's been spotted online, gaming, commenting, and acting as if nothing ever happened. To many, it feels like the people closest to this case are carrying on, while the public is left scrambling to connect the dots. That's why this story has gripped so many people, because nothing lines up. The facts contradict each other, the timelines don't match, and the behavior of those involved feels off. Fans searching for justice are left staring at a puzzle where every piece seems out of place. And with each update, instead of closure, there's only more doubt, more speculation, and more unease. But the autopsy wasn't just incomplete, it was downright suspicious. The biggest red flag in this entire case has to be the autopsy itself. Normally, when a body is examined, medical examiners can at least provide a preliminary cause of death, something to give families and investigators direction while they wait on further testing. But in Celeste's case, the report didn't confirm anything. Instead, it listed her cause of death as deferred. For the public, that one word carried enormous weight. It wasn't just vague, it was unsettling. It meant that even with all the evidence in front of them, experts still couldn't explain how she died. On the surface, this might look like a standard delay for toxicology results. But for a case this high profile, every delay feels suspicious. Fans and family members alike expected answers, not silence. And without an official explanation, speculation filled the gap. Was something being hidden? Was the cause of death too controversial to release immediately? The uncertainty surrounding the autopsy only intensified the mystery, leaving people to wonder if there were factors investigators weren't ready to reveal. The implications are enormous. If the medical examiner eventually rules her death as natural causes, what does that mean for the fact that her body was found stuffed inside David's Tesla? Does the investigation simply stop there, without accountability or further questioning? That possibility has shaken those following the case. Because deferred doesn't just buy investigators more time, it opens the door for this tragedy to be dismissed entirely. And for many, that's not just unsettling. It feels like justice itself is slipping away. But the most chilling part isn't what the report said, it's what it left out. One of the most controversial parts of this case isn't about the autopsy or the car. It's about the possibility that Celeste was pregnant. For months, fans circulated screenshots of Discord messages where Celeste allegedly admitted she was expecting David's child. These weren't vague rumors whispered on forums, they were direct messages that appeared to come from her own account. That alone was enough to spark a firestorm online, because if true, it would have tied her even closer to David in a way few were prepared to acknowledge. But when the medical examiner finally released findings, the results left everyone stunned. The report stated clearly that Celeste was not pregnant at the time of her death. At first glance, that detail might look like it shuts the door on the rumors, but it actually opened a new one. Based on when Celeste reportedly sent those messages, the timeline suggested she should have been visibly pregnant by the time she disappeared. Yet the autopsy found no trace. That contradiction has left many asking the same haunting question: what happened in the weeks between those messages and her death? Theories began circulating almost immediately. Some believe Celeste may have been pressured to end the pregnancy. Others argue that the pregnancy rumors were exaggerated or taken out of context. One anonymous tip even claimed that the situation caused friction in her relationship with David, a claim impossible to verify, but one that refuses to disappear. The truth is, no one outside the investigation knows for sure. And that uncertainty keeps this chapter of the story alive, reminding everyone that there are pieces of Celeste's life and death still hidden in the shadows. And while those questions lingered, David's behavior online sent an even stranger message. If the investigation into Celeste's death was meant to put pressure on David, you wouldn't know it by looking at his online activity. Instead of laying low or releasing a statement, David was spotted leaving a comment under a TikTok video that directly mentioned the case. The comment didn't last long, it was quickly deleted, but the damage was already done. Fans saw it as proof that he was watching the conversation closely. And whether it was a mistake or intentional, it showed that he couldn't resist keeping tabs on the narrative surrounding him. What disturbed people even more was how casually David carried on in the weeks after. He's been active on Discord, chatting like nothing was happening, and logging long hours on Fortnite. To outsiders, this might seem trivial, but to Celeste supporters, it was damning. The idea that someone connected to such a disturbing case could spend hours gaming online while avoiding any public acknowledgement of the investigation didn't sit right. It painted the picture of a man detached from the gravity of what had happened. And for many, his silence spoke louder than any statement could. He hasn't expressed remorse, hasn't addressed the autopsy findings, and hasn't shown the kind of shock most people would expect. Instead, he's carried on with business as usual, enjoying the freedom that others believe he shouldn't have. To critics, that silence isn't just unsettling, it's incriminating. Because when your name is tied to tragedy and you act like nothing happened, it raises an even bigger question. What are you trying to avoid saying? But while David stayed glued to his screen, new video evidence of Celeste emerged that changed everything. Of all the evidence that surfaced in Celeste's case, one piece stands out as both haunting and heartbreaking. A surveillance video recorded in March 2024. The footage, captured at around 7 a.m., shows Celeste running near a liquor store. She's dressed in white pants and a black hoodie, her movements quick but not frantic. At one point she slows down, almost as if she's hesitating, unsure of where she's supposed to go next. Watching those few seconds feels like watching someone slip away in real time, leaving behind questions that no one has been able to answer. Her brother later insisted that Celeste had told him she was going to the movies that day, but that explanation doesn't line up. Why would a teenager be heading to the movies at 7 in the morning? Some suggest she might have been heading to school, but the truth is that she never made it anywhere. That brief clip was one of the last confirmed sightings of her, before she vanished completely, and it's left her family and the public with more questions than answers. What makes the video even more unsettling is the testimony of the liquor store owner who provided the footage. He knew Celeste and described her as a quiet, polite, normal teenager, not the troubled runaway some reports tried to portray her as. He remembered her stopping in for sodas, chips, and candy like any other kid her age. His words painted a very different picture of her character and contradicted claims that she was spiraling out of control at home. For many following the case, this testimony made her disappearance all the more tragic because it revealed how little outsiders may have truly understood her. The combination of the video and the liquor store owner's account changed the narrative. Instead of a simple story about a rebellious teen, it showed Celeste as a young girl caught between appearances and reality, someone who may have been running from more than anyone realized. And the worst part? After those final frames, she simply disappeared. No destination, no explanation, just a void where answers should be. For investigators, it's a chilling reminder that even with video evidence, the truth can remain just out of reach. But even with this footage, the timeline of her final days raised disturbing new questions. If Celeste's last confirmed sighting was in March, then why did police later insist she had been dead for weeks when her body was finally discovered in September? That timeline doesn't make sense on paper, and it immediately fueled public suspicion. The one detail investigators and fans keep circling back to is David's Tesla, a car that may hold more answers than anyone is admitting. The vehicle was discovered abandoned in the Hollywood Hills, sitting for weeks in plain sight. It wasn't hidden in a garage or dumped in a remote area. It was parked on the street, collecting dust and tickets. The car had a noticeable dent in the rear, which raised even more questions. Despite this, authorities noted that no one initially reported anything unusual. Even more disturbing, the early complaints about the abandoned vehicle made no mention of an odor, something you would expect given the conditions. That omission alone became one of the most chilling details in the case. As soon as the car's story went public, online investigators began tearing apart the timeline. When exactly had it been parked there? How long had it really been sitting before it was finally towed? Was the dent the result of a simple accident? Or could it have been connected to how Celeste ended up inside? Some theorized it was a hit and run. Others speculated it was staged to create confusion about when or how the car was last used. The more people examined the details, the more the mystery deepened. And that's what makes the Tesla such a haunting piece of evidence. It wasn't just a car. It was the silent witness to Celeste's final days. Whether it had been sitting there since July, August, or even earlier, every unanswered question about the vehicle adds another layer of doubt to the official story. Because if the timeline of the Tesla doesn't line up, then neither does the timeline of Celeste's death. And until that puzzle is solved, the truth will remain just out of reach. But the Tesla wasn't just a hiding place. It was also a witness. When investigators finally turned their attention to David's Tesla, they knew this wasn't just any abandoned car. Teslas are essentially computers on wheels, equipped with sensors, cameras, and logs that record almost every action. From the exact moment the trunk is opened to the last time the car was powered on, every detail is stored and linked directly to the owner's account. In theory, that means the vehicle itself could tell the story of Celeste's final moments, if anyone is willing to dig deep enough into the data. That's what makes the discovery of an abandoned Tesla keycard near the car so chilling. To most observers, it looked like David wanted nothing more to do with the vehicle, and left it behind along with its digital trail. A keycard isn't just a way to start the car, it's a piece of evidence that could connect the driver to specific times and locations. The fact that it was found discarded added to the perception that someone had walked away from the Tesla deliberately, hoping never to come back. By the time police seized both the car and the key, weeks had already passed. That delay wasn't just frustrating, it may have been catastrophic for the investigation. Most home security systems only keep footage for 30 days before automatically deleting it. By the time authorities began searching for nearby surveillance, much of it had already been erased. If cameras had captured Celeste being placed in the car, or someone abandoning it, those crucial images may be lost forever. And that's why the Tesla remains at the center of this mystery. It holds data, digital logs, and possibly video evidence that could prove once and for all what happened to Celeste. But with time working against investigators, the question lingers. Will the car reveal the truth, or has the most critical evidence already slipped through their fingers? And as police pieced together scraps of evidence, David tried to rewrite his public image. Just days before Celeste's body was discovered, David was still performing on stage, appearing alongside popular artist Kaylee Uchis. At the time, it looked like his career was moving forward without interruption. But the moment news of Celeste's death broke, everything changed. Their collaboration, which once streamed freely across platforms, was suddenly gone. The song was wiped from the internet as if it had never existed, a clear sign that even those closest to David's professional world wanted nothing to do with the controversy now tied to his name. What came next only made things more unsettling. Instead of addressing the investigation, David began releasing what he called prayer videos online. In them, he spoke about faith, Christianity, and finding strength during difficult times. On the surface, the messages sounded positive, even uplifting. But for viewers who had just learned about Celeste's tragic death, the timing felt off. To them, it wasn't about spirituality. It was about deflection. Many fans accused him of hiding behind religion to avoid answering real questions about what happened. The backlash was immediate. Comments poured in from people outraged that David would position himself as a man of faith while his name was connected to such a disturbing case. Instead of softening his image, the videos fueled anger. Viewers saw it as hypocrisy, a performance meant to distract rather than take responsibility. For Celeste's supporters, it felt like salt in an open wound, an attempt to reclaim moral ground that had already been shattered. To many, this was the final insult. How could someone at the center of a case involving an abandoned Tesla, a deferred autopsy, and a missing girl found under horrific circumstances stand in front of a camera and preach about faith and morality? For critics, the answer was simple. He couldn't. And every video he posted only deepened the disconnect between the image he wanted to project and the reality people believed he was hiding from. And that's where things stand now, a story full of contradictions, with no clear ending in sight. Celeste's case is more than just another headline. It's a haunting reminder of how fragile truth can be when evidence doesn't align. From the deferred autopsy that left her cause of death unexplained, to the pregnancy rumors that directly contradicted official reports, every piece of this story raises new doubts instead of providing clarity. Add in the abandoned Tesla, sitting for weeks with no answers, and David's casual online presence during the investigation, and it's no wonder this case has gripped the internet. Each detail pulls the story in a different direction, creating a web of contradictions that no one has fully untangled. And yet, despite all the speculation, no one has been held accountable. Authorities continue their investigation, but the lack of definitive answers has only fueled public suspicion that something darker may be at play. Was Celeste's death a tragic accident, or is there a larger cover-up unfolding behind the scenes? The unresolved timeline, the conflicting reports, and the silence from those closest to her only make the mystery deeper. For fans and family alike, the wait for justice feels endless. The truth is, this case is far from over. Each unanswered question keeps the public searching for more, and each new piece of information sparks even bigger debates online. So now it's your turn. What do you believe really happened to Celeste? Will investigators finally connect the missing pieces, or will this fade away like so many other Hollywood scandals? Share your thoughts in the comments, because this story is still unfolding, and the conversation is only just beginning. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next upload. And don't forget to drop a like and share your thoughts in the comments. It helps the channel grow and lets me know what stories you want covered next.